The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. A viral TikTok video recently shook the aesthetic world. A young woman tearfully recounted how she lost sight in one eye after receiving a seemingly routine cosmetic treatment called Juvelook while abroad. Now, her story, marked by sudden vision loss, a diagnosis of retinal artery occlusion, and the devastating realization that the damage was permanent, quickly went viral, amassing millions of views and sparking an outpouring of concern, confusion, and debate online. While the procedure promised rejuvenation and radiance, it instead exposed a rare but catastrophic risk of aesthetic injectables, blindness. And she's not alone. A 2024 study published in the Aesthetic Surgery Journal identified 365 new cases of partial or complete blindness caused by facial fillers between 2018 and 2023, most commonly in the high-risk zones of the nose, forehead, and glabella. Now, despite emergency interventions, most patients saw no recovery. As demand for cosmetic enhancements continues to surge, often fueled by social media trends and the lure of cheaper treatments overseas, so too does the importance of understanding the real risks behind the pursuit of beauty. So how can patients better protect themselves in a rapidly growing and often underregulated industry? What should you take note of when going for such a treatment, or should you avoid them entirely? And joining us today to share more is Mindy Tjang, who is the head of client relations at the Aesthetics Medical Clinic at the Bukit Batok outlet. Hi, Mindy. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Mindy, now a woman losing sight in one eye following a popular Korean skin treatment, Juvelook, has gone viral after she posted about her experience on TikTok. For more background context here, what is Juvelook?
So Juvelook is actually a new hybrid booster which mixes a collagen stimulator product and a hydration booster, typically using hyaluronic acid in one product. So it's a generally newer product compared to a lot of the injectables in the market. It has been around for a couple of years, but compared to some of the older injectables, it's something a bit new. And because of this combination, it's also something that has not been seen before. So the key ingredients are PDLLA, which is poly-D-lactic acid, and hyaluronic acid. So Juvelook actually has two main products in the line. One is the Juvelook Skin Booster and the Juvelook Volume. And in Singapore, the Juvelook Volume is actually termed as Lanisna. So we don't actually use Juvelook Volume in the term in Singapore.
I see. Well, Juvelook has become very popular as a skin booster treatment, particularly in Korea, and it has gained traction globally. What's been driving this popularity? Is it popular here in Singapore as well?
Yes, definitely. We do see a lot of people opting for Juvelook treatments, particularly because it's something new, something they have not seen in the market in Singapore. But I think a lot of the treatments done in Singapore are more geared towards Juvelook skin boosters versus Juvelook Volume. But I don't know the ratio of the number of people opting for either or of them.
Right. Now, the woman in question claims that she lost her vision in one eye after this treatment. Does this happen often? Can you really lose your sight from this treatment alone, or are there any other underlying causes?
So basically, the product in question is the Juvelook Volume, which is the Lanisa product, which we're going to look at more in detail. The difference between this product and other skin boosters is it's a mix of a slightly higher percentage of hyaluronic acid and PDLLA. So with every injectable product, HA-based, hyaluronic acid-based, they're always supposed to be a very, 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 very minor risk of arterial blockage. And in her case, it's very hard to tell from her video what exactly happened during her procedure. So what we can only derive is from what she described post-procedure, which is, the steps that the doctors took into correcting the situation, preventing the situation. So with every injectable, there is some very, very, very minor risk. But if it's done correctly, proper setting, and also if the doctor is well-versed of taking care of complications such as vision loss, it typically can be avoided.
So why do complications like retinal artery blockage happen, and how do particle size and vascular anatomy contribute to the risk of injectable complications like blindness?
So just a disclaimer, although it's very, very, very rare, our face contains a lot of arteries, and the blockage of the facial arteries that will lead to the retinal artery is the main cause of vision blindness. So definitely the injection method is really important. Typically with filler injections, we use a blunt needle called the cannula. So cannula decreases the risk of injecting any material into the artery itself. Also, the type of product also makes a difference. Typically with a filler type product, which is what this lady used, poses a slightly higher risk versus non-filler products such as skin boosters. They are non-crystalline, they're more liquid. It has almost zero or no risk, slight, very, very little amount of risk compared to filler products. The depth of the injection also makes a difference. So typically if you do, skin booster injections, they are really superficial, the dermal layer, subdermal layer. The presence of arteries there are rather rare versus when you do filler products, it's slightly deeper in the subcutaneous layer, and there is presence of arteries there. So that's kind of the difference.
Okay, I want to dive in deeper about the filler products here as well. I mean, in fact, a 2024 study published in the Aesthetic Surgery Journal reviewed 365 new cases of partial or complete blindness following filler injections. They were identified most commonly occurring after procedures on the nose, forehead, or glabella between September 2018 and March 2023. Now, most cases involve something called hyaluronic acid-based fillers. Why is this type of filler particularly associated with complications like vision loss?
Like what I mentioned, because the purpose of the filler is to fill the space. So generally they are a gel-like texture. And when the gel-like texture is accidentally injected into the facial artery, it leads the gel material all the way to the retinal artery, and that is where the complication occurs. So that's typically the case. But you do note that there's 385 cases among is that over 7 years? But there's a few million of filler injections done every single year.
Right.
So if you calculate the risk, it's actually very, very, very low. If a doctor is well-versed and well-trained in handling complications, there is always protocols they can take, like what you mentioned in her video. There is a golden period where treatment should be done to actually prevent such things from happening.
Right. So that golden period there. Now, every year, thousands of people face botched procedures, substandard care, and even life-threatening complications when seeking treatments abroad, often without realizing the full risks involved. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of so-called affordable treatments overseas, right, Mindy? But what should people do before deciding on such treatments? What advice would you give someone who's considering an aesthetic injectable for the first time but is worried about the risks?
Yeah, so there's two components to this. Someone who is traveling overseas to get aesthetic medicine, I would say the first thing is you need to be very aware of the language that they're speaking. Make sure to get someone to interpret exactly what you want to communicate over to the physician, so there's clear communication. Secondly, of course, if you could try the treatment in Singapore first before going overseas, that would be great, because sometimes there are allergies that you might not know of, and there might be complications that you might meet that you might not know of. And when it happens overseas, it's very hard to seek medical help. That's the main thing. And then also for injectable treatments, for people who want to, kind of start but are kind of afraid, I think a very good path that they can go through is to actually go for skin boosters instead of fillers or full injectables, because skin boosters are generally injected in a very superficial dermal layer. Such products can be called, like in Korea also, it's called Regeron, there's Profilo, there's Restylane Vital. So there's a lot of brand names out there that offer such services, and it gives you a skin plumping effect. It's more for your skin versus the actual plumping effect. And the other advice I would give is you can go for something that's non-invasive. So you can do like the lifting treatments. that's slightly more non-invasive, start slower and smaller instead of compiling a lot of different treatments at one go, because a lot of times a lot of our clients tell us that the clinic in Korea, they ask them to do like 5 or 6 different treatments at one day. It is not doable, but it's just if there is a complication or if your skin cannot take it, it's just, it's the what if that you have to be careful of.
Right. That what if. That's some great advice from you there, Mindy. Well, finally, before we let you go here, are there, certain red flags that should warn patients about a clinic or a practitioner when seeking treatment, especially outside their home country?
Red flags, maybe I would say number 1 is do bring your own interpreter. So make sure that whatever they're saying and it's correctly translated to you. That's number 1. Number 2 is there are certain products that are injected into your skin. So do make sure that they show you the actual product and make sure it's legitimate and not something that's, fake or different. Always ask, hey, can I see the product first before you open it? Yeah, so I think there are a few things. And also, if they really push you to do a lot of treatments, that's something you have to be a little bit more careful of. If they'll be like, oh, why don't you add this? Why don't you add that? Why don't you add this? There's only one face and there's only one day for you, so that's only how much your face can take. So taking it slow is always a better idea. And then, if you do need treatments, you can actually redo similar treatments back in Singapore, because a lot of the treatments available in Korea, they are actually available in Singapore as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mindy. Some great insights from you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Mindy Tjang, who is the head of client relations at the Aesthetics Medical Clinic at the Bukit Batok outlet. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.